Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Tomasz Kosowski and Stephen Cozzi. First I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Tomasz Roman Kosowski was born on January 8, 1979, and lived in Tarpon Springs, Florida. He went by the name Tom. Tarpon Springs is near Tampa, Florida. Tom was a plastic surgeon who had his own practice. He was extremely successful financially. In March 2018, he paid $1 million for a 3,000 square foot four-bedroom house located at 511 Seaview Drive. Tom was active on Instagram, where he posted many images and videos about plastic surgery and different procedures he used to accomplish his patients' goals. He appeared to be well-liked, at least based on his social media presence. In May 2019, Tom filed a lawsuit against a medical practice, which was a former employer of his. He claimed they used a medical biller who was incompetent, which led to his reputation being damaged. An attorney named Stephen Cozzi, who worked for a law firm called Blanchard Law, represented the medical practice. Tom and Stephen did not get along too well as the lawsuit progressed. On January 26, 2023, while the men were at the Blanchard Law office attending a deposition, they started arguing. Tom followed Stephen into a restroom and called him a scumbag. He also said that he would win in the end. This takes me to the timeline of the crime. On March 21, 2023, at 11:46 a.m., a worker named Jake at the Blanchard Law office at 1501B South Belcher Road in Largo, Florida, contacted the police. Jake said that his employee, Stephen Cozzi, went to the restroom sometime between 9:30 a.m. and 10 a.m., but never returned to his desk. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. In Stephen's office, he had left behind his keys, wallet, cell phone, laptop, and tablet. His computer was open, and an unsent email was on the screen. Stephen's vehicle was still in the parking lot. The restroom that Stephen used was located in a common area. It was not in the Blanchard Law office suite, which was Unit 6B. When the police looked in the restroom, they found blood. Later, test results indicated the blood belonged to Stephen. Investigators reviewed video surveillance from the office building. Stephen could be seen entering the building at 8:34 a.m., but was not seen leaving. At 10:22 a.m., a man wearing a blue short-sleeved shirt, jeans, a surgical mask, a hat, and a backpack exited the building. He was pulling some type of small, wheeled cart. The cart had an open top with a red or orange blanket covering its contents. It appeared to be heavy. The man walked out of range of the surveillance camera. The police did not know who the man was at the time, but they were certain it was not Stephen. At 11:15 a.m., the same unknown man who had been pulling the cart could be seen walking from the parking lot to the northwest corner of the building. He was now wearing a gray shirt. He could be seen looking toward the main entrance of the law firm before turning around and walking toward the parking lot. 1 minute later, a gray Toyota Tundra pickup truck could be seen leaving the parking lot and turning right to go north on South Belcher Road. There appeared to be a red or orange item in the bed of the truck, just like the item that was seen in the cart. The truck had an invalid New Jersey license plate on it. The police reviewed video surveillance from a house at 503 Seaview Drive in Tarpon Springs. This is the next house south of where Thomas lived at 511 Seaview. On March 21, 2023, the same day that Stephen went missing, a Toyota Tundra was captured driving south on Seaview Drive at 7:51 a.m. At 11:58 a.m., the truck was captured driving north with a red or orange blanket in the bed. The video surveillance also captured a red Toyota Corolla, just like one that Tom owned, leaving the area of his house at 4:58 p.m. The police believed that Tom killed Stephen, put his body in the bed of the Toyota Tundra, drove the truck back to his house, moved the body into the trunk of the Toyota Corolla, then disposed of the body. Stephen's body was never found, but investigators believed they had enough evidence for an arrest. On March 25, 2023, 4 days after Stephen disappeared, Tom was arrested and charged with murder in the first degree. He was denied bond. If he is convicted, Tom could face the death penalty. He has experienced some difficulty with his attorney situation. In May 2025, over 2 years after Tom was arrested, his attorney was granted a motion to withdraw from the case. The attorney indicated that he was on a video call with Tom and Tom's mother when Tom made some comments which were worrisome. Allegedly, Tom instructed his mother to make sure the attorney didn't get paid and talked about how they are going to file a grievance against him and sue him. The attorney told the judge he also had other concerns, but did not feel comfortable discussing them in open court. After this hearing, Tom started searching for a new attorney. Later, he told the judge that no one was willing to help him. The judge appointed the public defender's office to represent Tom. At the time I'm making this video, Tom continues to make his way through the criminal justice system, and he maintains the presumption of innocence. Now moving to my analysis. Tom Kosowski maintains his innocence, and there are a few people who are not convinced that he killed Stephen. The state, of course, disagrees. They believe the evidence clearly points to Tom's guilt. This brings me to the question, was Tom guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that he was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. In the months leading up to Stephen's disappearance, Tom purchased multiple Gorilla collapsible carts from Amazon. He also purchased a license plate flipper, 5 rolls of duct tape, and a knife. In October 2022, 5 months before Stephen disappeared, Tom purchased a Toyota Tundra in cash. The seller reported the sale, but Tom never registered the vehicle. It was almost like he was trying to prevent the authorities from knowing that he now owned the truck. Tom was involved in acrimonious civil litigation with the company Stephen represented. After a deposition a few months prior to Stephen's disappearance, Tom confronted him in a restroom and called him a scumbag. On other occasions, Tom tried to remove Stephen from the case and ask for sanctions against him. On March 14, 2023, a week before Stephen went missing, a woman named Deborah, who worked in the same building as the Blanchard Law Office, contacted the police and reported a disturbing incident. Deborah said that she walked into an electrical closet in the common area and found an unknown male hiding behind the door. He was wearing a surgical mask. This was strange for a few reasons, including because the room was dark. The man told Deborah he was there because of a power outage. I guess like he was in the electrical room trying to fix whatever was wrong. He then walked out of the room, left the building, and drove away in a truck that looked a lot like a Toyota Tundra. Later, the police found a fingerprint on the inside of the electrical closet door, which matched Tom Kosowski. On March 17, 4 days before Stephen's disappearance, Tom's phone connected to the Wi-Fi at the Blanchard Law Office. On March 21, 2023, Stephen went missing from the Blanchard Law Office building. He was never seen leaving the building. Since then, there has not been any activity on his financial accounts or any other indication that he is alive. Not long after Stephen went to the restroom, a man in a mask was captured on video leaving the building, pulling a cart. It appears as though the man loaded the cart into a Toyota Tundra and drove away. Later that same day, the truck was captured on video surveillance right next to Tom's house. A red Toyota Corolla, just like one owned by Tom, was seen leaving the area a few hours later. When the police searched Tom's house, they discovered his Toyota Tundra in the garage. Blood found in the bed and in the middle of the garage floor belonged to Stephen. The police located Tom's red Toyota Corolla and seized it. Inside the vehicle, they found many items, including a ballistic vest with EMS written on it, law enforcement patches, a taser, masks, brass knuckles, duct tape, $280,000 in cash, syringes, a paralytic agent called succinylcholine, and blood, which belonged to Stephen. This blood had been found in the trunk of the vehicle. Tom had taken photographs of Stephen's carport at his condominium and the parking lot for the Blanchard Law Office. Using cell phone data and video surveillance, the police focused their attention on a dumpster in a parking lot on U.S. Highway 41 in Collier County. On March 23, 2023, 2 days after Stephen went missing, a garbage truck emptied the dumpster. A long object wrapped in a large plastic bag could be seen falling into the garbage truck. This was consistent with a human body. The truck driver told the authorities that the garbage that day was blanking vile. The odor was not normal and unlike the usual smell. Moving to the exculpatory factors, Stephen's body was never found. Maybe he disappeared and started a new life. That's pretty much it for the exculpatory factors. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that Tom was guilty of murder? Yes, I believe he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. As I mentioned, there are a few people who believe that Tom did not murder Stephen, but I'm not sure what they are basing that conclusion on. The state's case against Tom isn't just good, it's fantastic. The evidence really is overwhelming. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Tom sued a former employer because he thought they used a medical biller who was not competent. This caused a patient who received reconstructive breast surgery to become aggravated with Tom and ultimately to post negative reviews about him online. Tom accused the former employer of continuing to use the medical biller after she allegedly lied about billing issues. So Tom was not only blaming the medical biller, but he was blaming his former employer. After reading the lawsuit, it seems pretty clear that Tom's complaint was fairly minor, especially when compared to the massive financial success he had experienced. Even if Tom prevailed in the lawsuit, he would not have been awarded that much money. It didn't even really seem worth pursuing a lawsuit. Regardless, Tom was militant about proving his point. The former medical practice hired Stephen Cozzi to represent them. Tom focused his rage on Stephen. Why he did this may never be known. Maybe there was something about Stephen that just irritated him. Perhaps he believed Stephen was being deceptive or underhanded, based on Tom calling him a scumbag. But again, there is no way to know. Whatever it was that triggered Tom, his hatred intensified over time. In Tom's mind, Stephen somehow became an object that represented everything that he disliked, everything that he hated. He was obsessed with destroying Stephen. When Tom purchased the Toyota Tundra in October 2022, he was already planning to commit the murder. He failed to register the truck and installed a license plate flipper on it. A week before the murder, Tom hid in an electrical closet in the same building as the Blanchard Law Office. This was his first attempt to murder Stephen, but it was disrupted when he was discovered. Tom had to know he was spotted leaving in his Toyota Tundra, but for some reason, he would not give up. A week later, Tom tried again. He concealed himself somewhere in the common area of the building and waited for Stephen to use the restroom. He then viciously attacked Stephen with one or more weapons, like brass knuckles, a knife, or a paralytic agent. Stephen's blood was found in the bathroom, so it's unlikely that Tom only used the paralytic agent. Tom transported Stephen's body to his truck in a cart, then attended a conference call from 10:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. This call was related to his lawsuit and was supposed to include Stephen. Tom was on this call as he was in the parking lot with Stephen's body in the bed of his pickup truck. He was a pioneer in maintaining a work-life crime balance. This demonstrated a phenomenal level of calmness, a trait which is very common in surgeons. Not long after the call ended, Tom drove home and moved the body into the trunk of his Toyota Corolla. A few hours later, he drove to Collier County and placed the body in a dumpster. Tom was extremely confident that he had executed the perfect murder, but he made a long series of mistakes. For example, driving to his house, leaving blood in his vehicles and on his garage floor, storing weapons and other suspicious items in his car, and putting a fake New Jersey license plate on his truck. Perhaps not the best state to select if someone is trying to convince others the vehicle is not involved in something shady. Tom killed a man over an insignificant lawsuit that he started. He had a life of luxury and riches, but that wasn't good enough. In his mind, what he needed most was revenge. Those are my thoughts on the case of Tomasz Kosowski and Stephen Cozzi. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.